Remember that old floral teacup you used to drink from on rainy afternoons? Maybe it's been chipped or lost its saucer, but you've held on to it anyway. Not because it's perfect, but because it reminds you of gentler days, of warm hands wrapped around something delicate, of quiet. That little teacup still has something to offer. In fact, it's about to become a haven not just for memories, but for life. To create your own vintage teacup birdhouse, begin by finding a teacup and, if possible, a matching or mismatched saucer. They don't need to be pristine. In fact, a little character makes them all the more charming. Use a strong waterproof adhesive to attach the cup to the saucer at a gentle angle. This gives tiny birds a spot to perch, sip rainwater, or nibble at seeds you might place inside. Once it's dry and secure, you can leave it as is for a rustic look, or give it a coat of outdoor acrylic paint in colors that match your garden's personality. Soft pastel pinks and sky blues for a cottage garden feel, or bold yellows and reds if you like something more vibrant. There's no right or wrong here, just what brings a smile to your face. Now comes the magic part. Mount the teacup on a wooden post, tucked between your flowers, or use sturdy garden wire or twine to hang it from a low branch where it will gently sway in the breeze. Choose a spot that gets dappled sunlight and is safe from predators. Somewhere the birds will feel invited, not exposed, and then you wait. Soon enough, a curious finch or a cheerful chickadee may flutter by to take a closer look. Maybe it'll rest for a moment. Maybe it'll stay. But whether or not it becomes a permanent bird stop, that simple little teacup once forgotten in a cupboard will be part of your living garden story. And isn't that a lovely reflection of life itself? We may feel chipped, a little mismatched, not quite the way we used to be. But that doesn't mean we aren't still useful, still lovely, still able to nurture and bring joy to the world around us. So go ahead, pull out that teacup, let it sing again, this time among the flowers. Have you ever come across an old wooden window at a garage sale and paused, fingers tracing the chipped paint, thinking, this has seen so much light? Maybe it once looked out over a kitchen sink or a child's bedroom holding stories in its panes. It may not fit a modern frame anymore, but that doesn't mean it can't still frame something beautiful. With a little love and some gentle handiwork, that old window can become the heart of your garden's next season as a sweet pastel-painted mini greenhouse. To begin, gather 4 to 6 wooden window frames. It's perfectly fine if the paint is peeling or the glass is a bit foggy. Give them a quick wipe down and a light sanding if needed. You'll be arranging these upright to form a box or A-frame structure. This can be as small or as wide as you like, just big enough to shelter seed trays or tender herbs. Use wood glue and a few short screws to fasten the corners. If your hands aren't as steady as they once were, don't worry. Take your time, and if you have a neighbor or family member who enjoys small projects, this is a lovely way to share time together. Now for the fun part, color. Choose a pastel or sun-faded hue that makes you smile. Mint green, buttery yellow lavender, or robin's egg blue all feel at home in a garden. A couple coats of outdoor paint will not only brighten your space, but also help preserve the wood. Place your finished mini greenhouse over your planting tray, seedling pots, or even a small raised bed. The glass lets sunlight pour through while the walls protect your delicate young plants from chilly breezes or curious critters. It's especially helpful for early spring starts or late season herbs that need a bit more warmth. And every time you lift the side or peer through the glass, you'll feel it, that quiet joy of nurturing something from the beginning. For many of us, gardening isn't just about flowers. It's about the rhythm of things, the care, the second chances. Watching something small grow strong under your protection, just like that window perhaps. Once discarded, now full of purpose again. So don't be too quick to throw things away, not the windows, not the seasons, not even the quiet days. With just a little light and attention, there's still so much they can help bring to life. Do you remember the smell of fresh basil on your fingertips after snipping it for a summer tomato sandwich? Or maybe the way mint would brighten your iced tea on warm afternoons. Herbs have a way of bringing a garden and a memory to life. Now imagine having all those wonderful scents and flavors just a step away, growing not in fancy pots, but in humble little tin cans that once held soup or coffee. That's the beauty of this next project. It's simple, vibrant, and perfectly suited for gardeners with limited space or mobility. Start by gathering your tin cans 3, 5, maybe even 10 if you're feeling ambitious. Give them a good rinse and peel off any remaining labels. The nice thing about these cans is that they're lightweight and easy to handle, no heavy lifting required. Once they're clean and dry, it's time to turn them into art. Choose a palette that brings you joy. Sunflower yellow, soft lavender, calming sage green, or sky blue. Use outdoor acrylic paints and take your time. You might even paint little patterns, polka dot stripes, or even delicate flowers. Each can become its own tiny masterpiece. After the paint has dried, use a hammer and nail or a drill to add a small drainage hole in the bottom of each can. Then decide how you'd like to display them. One of the easiest ways is to attach them to a wooden pallet, a recycled fence panel, or even an old ladder that you lean against a sunny wall. You can screw each can directly into place or use sturdy wire to tie them on. Just be sure they're secure. Herbs may be light, but once watered, the weight adds up. Fill each can with good quality potting soil and gently nestle in your herbs. Basil, parsley, mint, thyme, whatever you love and use. Herbs are forgiving and thrive in small containers with just a bit of sun and care. Then step back and admire what you've made: a cheerful, fragrant vertical herb garden. Perfect for a porch, patio, or small backyard wall. Easy to reach, easy to maintain. No bending, no hauling, no fancy setup. And yet it's beautiful. Each painted can tell a little story. Maybe one once held your favorite winter chili. Maybe another reminds you of a neighbor who always shared her time. Now they're all growing something fresh, something useful. There's a quiet kind of dignity in reusing what others might toss away, in giving a second life to something small. And maybe that's what this garden and this season of life is about: noticing the value in things that endure and what still brings flavor and joy. So paint your cans, plant your herbs, and let them be a reminder that even simple things like a tin can and a little dirt can become a part of something meaningful. Sometimes it's the little sounds that bring the most peace: the flutter of wings, the soft splash of water, the cheerful chirp of a sparrow cooling off in the summer heat. Birds have a way of making a garden feel alive, don't they? Like nature is saying, hello. And if you have an old metal colander tucked in the back of your kitchen cabinet, maybe one that's a little rusty, or has lost its shine, you're already halfway to creating a charming hanging bird bath that welcomes those feathered friends with open arms. Start by giving your colander a gentle scrub. You don't need to make it perfect, just clean and ready for a coat of color. Pick a cheerful shade that lifts your spirits, maybe teal, like the sky after rain, coral, like the inside of a seashell, or lavender, like the blossoms along your fence. Use outdoor acrylic paint and take your time. The painting itself can be meditative, slow brush strokes, the smell of fresh paint, the joy of transforming something ordinary into something lovely. Now let's address the holes in the colander. Because of course, a bird bath needs to hold water. If the holes are small, you might be able to plug them with a waterproof sealant. But an easier way is to find a shallow plastic bowl or liner that fits snugly inside the colander. Many takeout containers or thrift store finds work perfectly for this. Just make sure it's shallow enough for birds to bathe comfortably and deep enough to hold a bit of water. Once your basin is in place, it's time to hang it. Cut 3 equal lengths of sturdy twine rope or even macrame cord. Attach them securely to the colander's handles or edges, evenly spaced to keep it level. Then knot them together at the top to form a hanging loop. Choose a gentle spot in your garden, a branch that sways slightly in the breeze, a shepherd's hook, or the edge of a pergola. Partial shade is best so the water stays cool. And keep it out of reach of curious neighborhood cats or garden predators. Fill it with clean water, step back and wait. It may take a day or two, but soon you'll hear that telltale flutter, a chickadee hopping to the rim, a goldfinch dipping in for a drink. Some may splash, others may simply rest for a moment. And you, dear friend, will have created something welcoming from something forgotten. There's such tenderness in that, isn't there? This colander, once overlooked and unused, becomes a sanctuary, a small floating oasis in a sea of green. And every bird that visits brings with it a bit of joy, a reminder that your garden is part of something bigger, something connected. For those of us who enjoy life's quieter moments, this simple project is more than decor. It's an offering, a gesture of care. So hang your bird bath with pride. Let the birds come. and let your garden ring with the gentle music of wings. Do you have a chipped plate tucked away in the back of the cupboard, one you just couldn't bear to throw out? Maybe it was part of your first dinner set. Or maybe it reminds you of someone who made you laugh around the kitchen table. Whatever its story, that little piece of porcelain still holds beauty. And now it can hold it again in a brand new way. Turning broken or mismatched dishware into mosaic flower pots is one of those quietly joyful projects. It's not about being perfect or precise. It's about finding beauty in the pieces. And for many of us, that's a powerful thing. To begin, gather your supplies: a plain terracotta pot, some old dishes or tiles you're ready to repurpose, strong outdoor adhesive tile grout gloves, a small towel, and a hammer. Start by carefully wrapping each piece of dishware in the towel and gently tapping it with the hammer until it breaks into smaller fragments. You don't need them too tiny, just enough to create interesting shapes and colors. Be sure to wear gloves and take your time. There's something almost sacred about working with care. Next, decide on your design. Will it be random and playful, or maybe you'd like to create a swirling pattern or a sunburst of colors? Lay a few pieces out before gluing just to see what sings to you. Once you're ready, begin attaching the pieces to the outside of your pot using a weatherproof adhesive. There's no rush. This is your canvas. Place each shard like a brush stroke in a painting, letting the curves and colors guide you. When the adhesive has dried, usually overnight, you're ready to grout. Mix the tile grout according to the package instructions and gently press it into the spaces between the broken pieces, smoothing it with your fingers or a small tool. Then, with a damp sponge, wipe away the excess from the surface of the shards, letting the design shine through. Finish with a waterproof sealant if you like, especially if the pot will be outdoors year-round. And there you have it, a mosaic flower pot filled not just with soil and plants, but with memory, meaning, and personality. Place your finished pot where you'll see it often. Maybe by the back door or on a garden step. Fill it with something cheerful: petunias, geraniums, or herbs that spill over the edge. Every time you water it or run your fingers along the mosaic, you'll be reminded that even broken things can become beautiful again. And that's the heart of this project. In a world that moves so fast that often values the new over the meaningful, this little pot stands quietly and says, "I am still here. I still matter, just like us." So don't be afraid of the chips and the cracks in your plates or in your story. Use them, honor them. Let them become part of something lovely, something alive, something only you could make. Your garden will thank you, and so will your heart. Have you ever found yourself saving little odds and ends, bottle caps, buttons, bits of ribbon, thinking, maybe I'll use this one day? There's a quiet hope in that habit. A belief that even small things can be part of something joyful. And in the garden, they can, especially when you gather a handful of colorful bottle caps and turn them into a dazzling sunburst for your fence or shed. This project is a wonderful way to play with color and texture, all while giving new life to what many would call trash. Start by collecting plastic or metal bottle caps in all colors. Bright orange from juice bottles, deep green from soda, soft pink from sparkling water. The more variety, the better. Don't worry if they're scratched or mismatched. It only adds to the charm. Next, find your base. This could be a sturdy old pizza pan, a wooden tray, a circular piece of cardboard sealed with outdoor paint, or even the bottom of an unused plant pot. Anything round and solid will work. Now lay out your design before gluing. Start in the center with one cap, then begin building out in concentric circles, alternating colors as you go. Let it radiate like sunshine captured in plastic. If you like, you can paint a few caps with outdoor acrylics to fill in color gaps or add some sparkle with metallic shades. Use a strong weatherproof adhesive to secure each cap in place. Press firmly and allow it to dry completely. Once everything's in place, give the whole piece a light coat of clear waterproof spray. This helps preserve the colors and keeps your artwork looking bright, even through rain and sun. Now it's time to display your creation. Mount your sunburst on a plain garden wall, a shed door, or a blank fence panel that could use a little life. Choose a spot where the light will catch it in the morning or late afternoon when the sun is softest and the shadows dance. And just like that, your collection of forgotten caps becomes a radiant piece of garden joy. This project doesn't require heavy lifting or fancy tools, just patience, playfulness, and a desire to make something lovely. It's perfect for those days when you want to keep your hands busy and your mind at ease. More than that, it reminds us that creativity doesn't live in a catalog. It lives in the little things. The things we save, the things we almost throw away, the things that with a bit of care can become part of something beautiful. So the next time you twist off a bottle cap, don't toss it. Set it aside, let it wait. One day soon it may become part of a sun that never sets, one that lives quietly and colorfully on your garden wall, reminding you that brightness can come from even the smallest things. There's something magical about stumbling across a tiny gnome tucked beneath the leaves, like discovering a secret the garden's been keeping just for you. And what if you could build an entire gnome village from something as simple as plastic soda bottles? It's a project that brings out the child in us, and it's especially wonderful if you're crafting with grandkids or just want to sprinkle a little storybook charm into your garden path. Begin by collecting a few clean, empty plastic bottles. 2-liter soda bottles work best, but any size will do. Remove the labels and give them a rinse. Then flip them upside down. The base becomes the gnome's head, and the bottleneck is its little body. Now the fun begins. Pick a few bright outdoor paint colors, maybe sky blue, sunflower yellow, or cherry red. Use a foam brush or sponge to coat each bottle. Don't worry about neatness. These gnomes are meant to be cheerful and full of personality. Let the paint dry completely before adding faces. You can draw or paint on smiling expressions with waterproof markers or detail brushes, rosy cheeks, big round eyes, twinkling grins. Some gnomes might look sleepy, others mischievous. Let each one be unique. Now it's time to dress them. Using scraps of fabric, felt, or even old socks, create pointed hats, scarves, or little vests. Glue them gently in place with a hot glue gun or strong craft glue. If you have some extra yarn or cotton, you can even add fluffy beards or braids. And just like that, your garden has new residents. Place the gnomes under shrubs near the roots of large potted plants, or peeking out from behind a tree. You might arrange them along a winding path or group them in a playful little corner with tiny mushroom figurines or fairy lights. They're lightweight, waterproof, and surprisingly durable, perfect for all seasons. What's truly special about this project isn't just how charming the gnomes look, but what they represent: whimsy play and a willingness to see your garden as more than just soil and stems. It becomes a place where stories live. And if a child wanders through and spots one, their face will light up. You'll see that spark of surprise, that wide-eyed wonder that makes you believe again, if only for a moment, in garden magic. But even if it's just you and the gnomes, that's enough. They'll keep quiet watch over your flowers. They'll weather the wind and rain. And every time you see them, you'll be reminded that joy doesn't have to be grand or expensive. Sometimes it's just a soda bottle in disguise. So gather your scraps, your paints, your laughter, and let your imagination build a tiny village where enchantment grows right alongside the roses. Have you ever walked a garden path that gently spirals inward, as if inviting you to slow down with each step? That's the feeling behind this next project, a spiral flower bed made from humble tin cans, lovingly painted and arranged in a shape that feels both playful and peaceful. It's perfect for gardeners who enjoy order and creativity side by side, and who appreciate making the most of what they already have. Start by deciding where your spiral will live. It could be a sunny patch near your porch, a corner of the yard, or even a wide container or raised bed. Use a rope or garden hose to sketch out the spiral shape directly on the soil. This becomes your guide. You can adjust it until the curve feels just right, then mark it with chalk pebbles or a gardening stick. Now gather your tin cans, ideally all the same size, like soup or coffee cans. Wash and dry them thoroughly. Then it's time to paint. Choose colors that lift your spirit. Sunny yellows, coral pinks, ocean blues, and mint greens all work beautifully in a garden setting. Outdoor acrylic paint does the trick, and if your hands are a little shaky, don't worry. Perfection isn't the goal. Each brush stroke adds character. Once dry, take your painted cans and gently press them into the soil along your spiral line. Bury them about an inch or two deep for stability. You can place them directly against each other for a solid border, or leave small gaps for a lighter look. Fill each can with good potting soil. Then comes the real joy: planting. Use a mix of flowering plants and succulents in varying heights and textures. Think trailing petunias, compact marigolds, or tiny sedum. You can even mix in herbs if you'd like the spiral to be edible as well as beautiful. Choose whatever brings a smile when you look at it. As the spiral fills out, step back and admire your creation. The movement of the spiral draws the eye and gives a sense of flow. It feels alive, as if your garden is turning a quiet page. And for those with limited mobility, this layout has another quiet gift. It can be made low to the ground or built on a raised surface depending on your needs. No heavy lifting, no kneeling required. Just step-by-step planting in a joyful swirl. The real magic, though, is in the message it sends, that something as everyday as a tin can become part of a living, breathing design. That beauty doesn't have to be bought, it can be built gently from what's already in our hands. And isn't that true of us too? Our lives aren't made only from grand gestures. They're made from small, meaningful moments repeated over time, like planting a single flower or arranging one more can. So take your time. Let the spiral grow. Let it remind you that even simple things with care and intention can become something extraordinary. Do you remember the days when a colander sat in the sink, steam rising through the holes as you drained spaghetti or washed fresh-picked berries? That old kitchen helper has probably seen hundreds of meals, conversations, and quiet afternoons. Well, it might be ready for a new chapter 1, where it no longer strains pasta but holds blooming flowers instead, gently swaying in the breeze. This hanging garden planter begins with a simple colander. It could be metal or wire, even a plastic one that's still sturdy. If it's got a few scratches or stains, even better, that means it's well loved. Start by giving it a quick rinse and dry. Now take a moment to choose your palette. A fresh coat of outdoor paint can make your colander truly sing. Soft sage green for a cottage garden feel, or perhaps a cheerful coral or turquoise to brighten up a shady spot. If your colander has large holes, don't worry, we'll line it so the soil stays snugly in place. Coconut coir moss, or even a circle of burlap, can act as a natural liner. Press it gently into the inside of the colander, covering the bottom and inner sides. This soft layer adds texture and holds in the soil while allowing for proper drainage, a gardener's dream. Next, fill the lined colander with lightweight potting mix. Avoid anything too dense or heavy. The goal is to keep the planter manageable, especially when lifting or watering. Now comes the planting. Choose trailing or spilling plants that love to drape and tumble. Petunias, ivy, sweet potato vine, or lobelia all work beautifully. Their foliage and blooms will soon cascade over the sides like a living waterfall, adding motion and color to your space. To hang the planter, cut 3 or 4 equal lengths of sturdy twine, rope, or chain. Knot or loop them through the colander's handles or edges, spacing them evenly for balance. Then gather the loose ends together and knot securely at the top to create your hanging loop. Find a lovely place to suspend it from a porch beam, a shepherd's hook, a pergola corner, or even a low-hanging branch. Choose somewhere with gentle light and good airflow where the planter can be admired without being in direct sun all day. Water gently and watch. Soon, the blooms will begin to spill and dance. Butterflies may flutter by. You'll find yourself pausing each time you pass, admiring how a kitchen staple became a piece of living art. And that's the heart of this project. It reminds us that usefulness doesn't have to end when a tool's original job is done. Just like us, we may retire from one role, but we never stop having something to offer. A new use, a new bloom, a new place in the story. So take that colander from the drawer, dust off its years of service, and give it a new life, one filled with flowers, sunlight, and the simple joy of making something beautiful from something forgotten. Some items hold more than just shape, they hold memories. Maybe there's an old guitar in your closet or garage. One that hasn't made music in years, its strings long gone, its wood a little worn. But when you look at it, you still hear something, the echo of old songs, laughter on a porch, the quiet rhythm of youth. Now imagine giving that guitar a second life, not as an instrument, but as a planter. A vertical garden centerpiece that strikes a beautiful chord between creativity and nature. To begin, carefully remove the guitar's front panel. This reveals the hollow body inside where your plants will live. If the wood is splintered or rough, give it a gentle sanding, smoothing the edges until they feel safe and welcoming. Next, place a layer of small rocks or pebbles at the bottom of the hollow body. This helps with drainage, making sure your plants don't sit in soggy soil. Over the rocks, add a few scoops of lightweight potting mix, enough to cradle your plants without making the guitar too heavy. Succulents are perfect for this type of project. Hens and chicks, jade plants, sedum, or string of pearls. They're resilient, low maintenance, and they thrive in shallow spaces. Tuck them gently into the soil, arranging them like a garden melody. Some tall, some trailing, each adding a different note of texture and color. If you're feeling playful, you can leave the guitar's wood bare for a rustic look, or you might paint it. Maybe a warm terracotta tone to blend with your garden beds, or a bold turquoise or sunflower yellow to make it pop against a fence or wall. You can even stencil on little designs, vines, leaves, musical notes, whatever makes your heart hum. Mount your guitar planter vertically using strong wall brackets or screws into a garden post fence, or even a brick wall. Make sure it gets a bit of dappled sunlight, but not too much heat. Succulents like it warm, but not scorching. Once it's in place, step back and take it in. This isn't just a planter, it's a story. Every time you walk past, you'll remember the hands that once held it, the songs that once filled the air. Now, instead of chords and lyrics, it offers leaves and blooms, a new kind of harmony, soft and steady. And maybe that's the deeper beauty here. That just like this guitar, we're allowed to change our purpose. To go quiet in one season and bloom in another. We don't stop being meaningful just because we're no longer used the way we once were. So if you have an old guitar or find one at a thrift store or yard sale, give it a listen. Then give it a chance to grow. Because in the garden, even silence has a melody. There's a kind of softness we long for in a garden. Not just in petals or breezes, but in memory, the quiet fabric of our lives, woven with care. Maybe you still have an old lace curtain in a drawer somewhere folded and yellowing with time. Or a drying rack that once held dishcloths near the kitchen window. What if those gentle remnants could become a piece of garden art that dances in the light and whispers of days gone by? This next project is for gardeners who love sentimental touches, those little pieces of the past made visible. Start with a folding wooden drying rack, the kind with slatted arms that fan outward. If it's still sturdy but no longer needed in the laundry room, bring it outside and wipe it down. You can leave the wood natural or give it a coat of whitewash or pastel outdoor paint. Soft lavender, mint green, or sky blue all add a cottage feel. Now take a piece of vintage lace sheer curtain fabric or even a delicate table runner that has worn edges but still holds beauty. Stretch it gently across the open frame of the rack, choosing one or more panels to highlight with the fabric. Use a staple gun, thumbtacks, or strong craft glue to secure the lace across each panel, making sure it's taut but not too tight. Once the lace is secured, you can add a personal touch by painting directly onto the fabric. Use outdoor acrylics in muted floral shades, dusty rose, soft yellow, or sage. You might stencil on silhouettes of wildflowers, butterflies, or garden vines, or simply let the lace's natural pattern shine through, untouched. Place your finished piece against a fence, lean it beside a garden bench, or hang it on a shaded wall. As sunlight filters through the fabric, the patterns will cast soft shadows on the ground, a living, breathing artwork that shifts with every breeze. And here's what makes this so special. It's not just a decoration. It's a tribute to all the hands that hem that lace, to all the moments wrapped in quiet domestic beauty. The drying rack may have once stood in a bustling kitchen. The lace may have fluttered in a child's bedroom window. Now together they find rest and new purpose in your garden sanctuary. This project doesn't ask for strength, speed, or technical skill. It asks for gentleness, for memory, for the kind of creativity that lives in the heart. And maybe, just maybe, as you pass by this lace panel swaying softly in the wind, you'll feel something lift, like the past tapping you on the shoulder with a smile. Because even old fabric can still catch the light. There's something beautiful about wearing your heart on your sleeve, or in this case, planting it right in the soil. If you've got a few worn-out tires sitting around, maybe behind the garage or near the shed, don't rush to haul them off. Because today, we're turning those rubber rings into a blooming symbol of love, right in your garden. It all begins with arrangement. Lay your tires on a flat patch of earth, starting with 2 side by side to form the top of the heart. Then carefully position 1 or 2 below them in a V shape to complete the bottom. You might need to shift and adjust, scooting them closer or overlapping slightly until the heart takes shape. There's no rush, this is a labor of love. Once you're happy with the layout, it's time to clean. A quick scrub with warm soapy water will do. You don't need to get them spotless, just enough to help the paint stick and the colors shine. Now for the part that feels like pure joy painting. Pick a palette that reflects your spirit. Bright red and pink for a classic look. Sunny yellows and purples for something more playful. Or perhaps white and soft rose for a gentle romantic touch. Outdoor spray paint or brush-on exterior paint both work well. Just be sure to paint in a well-ventilated space and let everything dry fully before moving on. Next, line the bottom of each tire with a few layers of newspaper or landscape fabric to help hold in the soil. Then fill each one with rich potting mix, gently pressing it down with your hands. Now comes the fun of planting. Choose bold, happy flowers, the kind that bloom with abandon. Marigolds, zinnias, petunias, or pansies all thrive in containers and offer bursts of color that will fill out the tires beautifully. You can mix heights and textures for interest, or keep to a single flower type for a more uniform look. As the plants grow and spill over the rims, your tire heart will become a living tribute, not only to your love of gardening, but to the joy of repurposing something old into something meaningful. And perhaps that's the quiet message here. Tires were built to carry us over miles through weather across seasons. When they've done their work, they often sit forgotten. But in your hands, they find new purpose. They become part of something tender and beautiful, just like we do in this season of life. A heart-shaped flower bed may seem simple, but it speaks volumes. It tells the world that love still grows here in your garden, in your care, and the colors that bloom beneath your fingertips. So go ahead, shape your heart in the soil, fill it with flowers, let it bloom where everyone can see. Because when love is planted with purpose, it always finds a way to grow. Sometimes the garden calls for stillness, a place to rest your hands, take a sip of tea, or simply sit and admire the work you've done. And if you've ever wished for a little stool that's both beautiful and strong, this next idea might be just what your garden needs. Even better, it starts with something as ordinary as an old paint bucket. Begin with a clean, empty plastic paint bucket. The 5-gallon kind works perfectly. If it's a little worn or has splashes of paint on the outside, don't worry. You're about to transform it completely. Start by mixing a batch of quick-set concrete or cement, following the instructions on the bag. Pour it slowly into the bucket, filling it nearly to the top. Give the bucket a few gentle taps on the sides to help the mix settle evenly and release any air bubbles. Now, while the surface is still wet, here's your chance to add personality. Gather some decorative stones, colorful glass bits, broken pieces of tile, or even seashells. Press them gently into the top of the wet cement in any pattern that feels right. Maybe a spiral of smooth pebbles or a simple mosaic of blue and green tile fragments. This is your garden's quiet little gem. Let it reflect your spirit. Then let the cement cure fully. This may take 24 to 48 hours depending on your climate. There's no need to rush, just let the transformation happen while you rest or tend to another small project. Once the cement is set, gently turn the bucket upside down and ease off the plastic mold. What you'll reveal is a solid, weather-resistant stool with a lovely textured top. You can leave the sides natural for an industrial look, or paint the base in a color that matches your garden, maybe a soft lavender or pale green. This stool can live by your flower bed, near your potting table, or under the shade of your favorite tree. It's the perfect height to sit comfortably while you tend to low planters, or simply pause and watch the butterflies dance. And if bending or crouching is more difficult these days, having a sturdy perch nearby is a blessing. But more than just practical, this stool is a little celebration of making something useful, of not wasting what's around you, of creating comfort with your own hands. Isn't that the essence of gardening in this season of life? Taking what's available, making it beautiful, and using it to slow down, to breathe, to rest, to appreciate what you've grown. So the next time your legs need a break, or you find yourself wanting a quiet corner to think, let this handmade stool be there waiting. Solid, lovely. A simple reminder that strength and grace can come from the most unexpected places, like an old paint bucket and a little patience. There's something delightful about knowing the names of what you grow, a bit like introducing guests at a garden party. This is basil, and here's parsley. Oh, and that cheeky one there. That's mint always spreading. And instead of plastic tags or store-bought stakes, why not make something far more charming and personal from the back of your own kitchen drawer? Old spoons, yes, even the mismatched ones, the bent ones, the ones with scratches and faded shine make the most lovely garden markers. Each one a little silver plaque nestled in the soil telling a quiet story of what grows there. To begin, gather your spoons. Metal ones work best, though wooden spoons can be used too if you're keeping them under cover. If you're using metal, you'll want to flatten the head slightly to create a space for writing. Simply place each spoon face down on a sturdy surface, lay a thick towel over it, and give it a few firm but careful taps with a hammer. The result will be a smooth, oval canvas. Now comes the creative part. Choose a soft, garden-friendly color palette, perhaps lavender sage butter yellow or robin's egg blue. Use outdoor acrylic paint to coat the spoon handles and heads, leaving room to write the name of each plant. Once dry, use a permanent marker or waterproof paint pen to write your herbs or vegetable names in a style that suits your garden, elegant script, playful block letters, or even tiny illustrations. Stick each spoon into the soil beside its matching plant. They work beautifully in herb gardens, raised beds, or even large container pots on the patio. And here's something lovely. You don't need to stop at plant names. Maybe one spoon reads, "Hope, another patience," or "Joy." Little affirmations tucked among the tomatoes and thyme waiting to surprise you during a morning watering or evening stroll. These garden labels aren't just practical, they're poetic. They bring order without harshness, beauty without cost. And every time you kneel to tend your basil or snip a bit of rosemary, you'll be greeted by something you made with your own hands. Better still, they're so light and accessible. No lifting, no digging. Just a spoon, some paint, and a few peaceful minutes of crafting. And if your hands shake a little these days, or your writing isn't quite as neat as it used to be, let that be part of it. Let it show. These spoons carry more than labels. They carry your touch, your care, your story. So next time you open that drawer full of odd cutlery, don't toss what's old. Make it part of your garden's voice, one little spoon at a time. Because in a world that moves fast, it's a quiet joy to stop, read a name, and remember that everything growing here was planted with love. There's a kind of wonder that comes from looking up in the garden, catching a flash of color dancing in the breeze, or watching a hummingbird pause beside a bloom hanging mid-air. It feels unexpected, magical, like the garden itself is stretching toward the sky. That's the spirit behind this next project, floating planters made from old kitchen strainers and tall bamboo poles. It's a gentle way to add height, motion, and joy to any outdoor space, no digging or heavy lifting required. Start by rummaging through your cupboards or local thrift shop for metal or plastic kitchen strainers, the kind used to rinse berries or pasta. Even ones with a dent or two will work beautifully. The holes allow for airflow and drainage, making them a natural fit for plant containers. Give your strainers a good wash and dry. Then bring them to life with a splash of outdoor paint in colors that pop: coral, lemon, yellow, turquoise, or a calming lavender. These vibrant shades will stand out beautifully against green leaves and blue sky. Once the paint dries, line the inside of each strainer with coconut coir moss, or even a bit of burlap to hold soil in place. This lining gives your planter a rustic, earthy texture and helps prevent soil from spilling out. Now fill each one with lightweight potting mix and choose trailing plants that love to spill and flow. Petunias, sweet alyssum, lobelia, or ivy are all excellent choices. Their flowers and vines will soon cascade down like little waterfalls of color. To elevate your floating planters, take a few sturdy bamboo poles about 5 or 6 feet tall and anchor them into the soil where you'd like your blooms to sway. These poles are lightweight yet strong, and they blend naturally into the garden. Using zip ties, twine, or floral wire, gently attach each strainer planter to the top of a bamboo pole. Make sure it's centered and balanced. As they sway in the wind, they'll look like floating bouquets dancing just above the garden beds. And oh, what a sight they make! You can group a few together at varying heights for a layered effect, or line them along a pathway like a parade of blossoms. If you're working with a smaller patio or balcony, just 1 or 2 planters can add vertical magic without taking up ground space. This project doesn't demand much: no bending, no hauling, no hammers or nails. Just quiet crafting, light lifting, and a bit of imagination. But what it gives back is something more. Because when flowers float above the soil, they remind us that beauty isn't bound by the ground, that even rooted things can rise, that color and movement and joy can find their way upward with a little help, just like us. So, take those old strainers, let them soar, let them brighten the air above your garden with color and care, because sometimes the most beautiful blooms are the ones you raise toward the sky. Do you still have a drawer somewhere filled with old CDs? Maybe home-burned music mixes photo discs or forgotten software from long ago. They're scratched, outdated, and oddly beautiful when they catch the light. Instead of letting them collect dust, why not let them scatter sunlight across your garden like glittering stars? This next idea is perfect for anyone who loves a little sparkle, a CD wind spinner that reflects the sun and dances with the breeze. Start by gathering 3 to 5 CDs. They don't need to match or be in perfect condition. In fact, those little scuffs and fingerprints give them character. Wipe them down gently to remove dust, then decide if you'd like to keep them as is or decorate them. If you enjoy crafting, this is your chance to add personality. Use waterproof paint, glitter glue, or colorful tape to edge the discs or create patterns. Think cheerful sunbursts, swirling florals, or polka dots. Just keep your decorations lightweight so the spinner can still move freely. Now, to connect your CDs into a spinner, you'll need a simple swivel hook like the kind used in hanging plant baskets or fishing gear, and either garden wire jump rings or small keychain loops to attach the discs vertically. The swivel allows your spinner to turn smoothly in the wind, catching sunlight from every direction. Stack your CDs in a vertical line, attaching each through its center hole. Make sure the topmost one is connected to the swivel hook and space them a little apart so they can twirl without bumping into each other. Once assembled, hang your spinner in a sunny spot. A shepherd's hook near the flower bed, a low tree branch, or the corner of a pergola all work beautifully. Choose a place where the light hits in the morning or late afternoon. That's when the reflections will be most magical. And what a show it becomes! As the breeze turns the discs, they throw dancing patterns of light across your garden, tiny flashes of silver and rainbow like sparkles skipping across your fence or plants. It's a simple kind of magic, one that feels childlike, joyful, and utterly peaceful. More than just eye-catching, this spinner is a reminder that even things considered useless, a pile of old CDs forgotten and unloved, can still bring beauty. That motion and light and rhythm are always possible when we're willing to reimagine what's in front of us. It's also wonderfully easy on the hands and body. No tools beyond scissors or wire cutters, no heavy lifting, just gentle assembly and a little sunlight. So next time you find an old disc with a favorite song you haven't heard in years, hold it to the light. Let it shine. And consider giving it a place in your garden, not in the back of a drawer. Because there's something quietly powerful about making beauty from what was once set aside. And in the garden, that kind of light always finds its way back to us. Have you ever paused to admire a butterfly landing on a flower, or followed a ladybug as it wandered across a leaf? These tiny moments hold so much magic, like nature's own little sculptures, delicate and alive. And now, with a few soda cans and a bit of imagination, you can bring that same sense of whimsy into your own garden. This project turns discarded aluminum cans into playful, shimmering creatures. Butterflies, dragonflies, beetles that flutter in the breeze and catch the sunlight. A quiet delight for any garden space. To begin, gather a few empty soda cans. Rinse them out well and let them dry. Choose ones in bright colors or shiny metallics, or plan to paint them later. Then, using a sturdy pair of scissors or tin snips, carefully cut off the top and bottom of each can. What remains is a smooth sheet of aluminum ready for crafting. Always wear gloves during this part, the edges can be sharp. Take your time. There's no need to rush when creating something beautiful. Next, sketch or trace simple shapes onto the flattened aluminum. Butterflies with open wings, dragonflies with long tails, bumblebees with rounded bellies. If you're not comfortable freehanding, you can find printable templates online and trace over them. Once your shapes are outlined, cut them out gently. You can bend the wings slightly, curl the edges, or layer pieces together for a three-dimensional effect. Every sculpture becomes a little story, a moment of flight frozen in place. Now it's time to paint if you wish. Use outdoor acrylics or metallic spray paint in vibrant hues, electric blue, ruby red, shimmering gold. These colors pop in the sunlight and create a lovely contrast against greenery. Let the paint dry thoroughly. To display your creatures, attach a small loop of garden wire, clear fishing line, or thin twine to the top of each sculpture. Then hang them from tree branches, garden hooks, trellises, or even your porch ceiling. As the wind stirs, they'll flutter and twist, mimicking the delicate dance of real insects. You can also mount them on wooden stakes or fences using tiny nails or more wire, tucking them among flowers where they'll surprise and charm visitors, human and pollinator alike. These soda can sculptures are incredibly lightweight and weather-resistant, and they're accessible, requiring only simple tools, a steady chair to sit on, and a bit of quiet patience. But perhaps what makes this project so meaningful is the transformation itself. A soda can empty, crumpled, often tossed without a second thought, becomes something lovely. Something that brings joy, light, and movement to your garden. It's a little act of redemption, a whisper of creativity in a noisy world. And for gardeners like us who take the time to notice small details, the flicker of wings, the glint of sunlight, these gentle sculptures are more than decoration. They're a celebration of color, of care, of the belief that nothing is too small or too ordinary to become beautiful. So go ahead, let your hands shape wings, let your imagination take flight, and watch your garden come alive with creatures that sparkle and dance, made not from store-bought things, but from the quiet magic already in your home. There's a certain kind of magic that only lives in quiet corners under the shade of a tree, beside a mossy stone, or tucked beneath the leaves where no one's looking too closely. That's where the garden fairies dwell, at least in the hearts of those who still believe. And whether you're building it for visiting grandchildren or simply for your own quiet joy, creating a tiny fairy stage from garden scraps is a lovely way to add wonder to your space. You don't need much to begin, just a few pieces of scrap wood, some moss, a handful of pebbles, and your imagination. Start by selecting a shady, protected nook in your garden. Under a fern, beneath a low-hanging bush, or beside your hostas are all wonderful spots. Somewhere that already feels like a hidden world waiting to be discovered. Then gather your materials. Look for thin, flat wood scraps, maybe an old cutting board, pieces of a broken drawer, or even a strong cardboard panel coated with weatherproof sealant. This will serve as the stage floor. Arrange and glue your base pieces into a simple platform no larger than a dinner plate. It can be square, round, or whimsical in shape. Use outdoor wood glue or strong craft adhesive to hold it together. Next, layer bits of moss across the surface. You can use preserved craft moss from a dollar store, or gently lift small patches of real moss from elsewhere in your yard, only if it's abundant and you're being gentle with the earth. Tuck it into corners, letting it spill over the edges for a lived-in look. Now it's time for the magic. Add tiny props, a twig, bench, a curtain made of a flower petal stones arranged in a ring. A small acorn cap becomes a bowl. A feather becomes a backdrop. If you have miniature figurines, fairies, woodland creatures, or even small wooden dolls, invite them onto the stage. Battery-operated fairy lights or solar garden twinkle lights can be woven through nearby branches or bushes to add a soft evening glow. And if it feels right, add a little sign, "Fairies Welcome" or "Storytime at Dusk." Every element is small, simple, but placed together with care, it becomes something more, a stage not just for fairies, but for imagination. You might walk past it on a misty morning and smile, thinking of a time long ago when you believed in magical realms and moonlit dances. Or you might see your grandchild crouched beside it, eyes wide, creating tales of fairy queens and dragonflies. This little stage doesn't need applause. It doesn't need an audience. It simply is a gentle reminder that the garden is more than soil and seeds. It's also story. It's also soul. And perhaps this is the quiet truth, that as we age, we don't lose wonder. We return to it. So gather your scraps, tuck them into the earth, and let your garden whisper stories to anyone willing to listen. Because sometimes the smallest stage holds the biggest magic. If you've ever found yourself lost in a book on a quiet afternoon, sunlight through the window, tea in hand, garden breeze fluttering the pages, then this next project might feel like a love letter to that very moment. It's a charming way to blend your love of reading with your garden space, using nothing more than a few bricks and a bit of paint to create a whimsical book tower that looks like it tumbled straight out of a storybook. To begin, gather several bricks, old or new, it doesn't matter. They just need flat sides that can act as book spines. About 6 to 10 bricks make a lovely stack, but feel free to create a taller tower if you're feeling inspired. Give each brick a quick wipe to remove dust or dirt. Then comes the fun part: painting. Choose outdoor acrylic paints in deep, cozy hues: burgundy, forest, green, navy blue, mustard yellow. These mimic the rich tones of old leather-bound books. You can also add a bit of metallic gold or white to the edges to resemble pages or elegant flourishes. Once the base colors are dry, it's time to give your books their titles. You can write real book names: The Secret Garden, Little Women, Charlotte's Web, or make up your own: The Adventures of My Tomato Plant. Herbs and Happiness or Sunshine in Bloom. Use a paint pen or a fine brush to hand-letter each title. Add whimsical touches like tiny vines, butterflies, or faux embossing for extra charm. Once everything has dried and sealed, a quick spray of outdoor sealant will help stack your bricks like a pile of books, either neatly aligned or slightly askew, like they've just been read and placed back down with care. Use a strong adhesive like landscape construction glue between each layer for stability, especially if your tower will be exposed to wind or rain. Alternatively, you can place the stack inside a garden nook or under a covered patio where it's naturally protected. Place your book tower wherever it will bring the most joy, beside a bench near your favorite flower bed, or tucked beneath a tree where real reading often happens. It also makes a lovely companion piece to a fairy garden bird feeder or potted herb corner. And every time you pass by, your eyes will dance across the titles: memories of books you've loved, stories you've lived, or dreams you're still growing. This project is lightweight, easy on the body, and forgiving in its creativity. No need for perfection. In fact, the more hand-done it looks, the more soul it carries. But more than that, it celebrates something that many of us cherish deeply: the comfort of a good story, the joy of slowing down, and the beauty of placing our imagination right out where the flowers grow. So don't toss those old bricks. Paint them, name them, stack them like chapters of your life. And let your garden become not just a place to plant and prune, but a quiet library of joy. Because for gardeners who also love books, and for readers who also love soil, this little tower is a perfect meeting of both worlds. Do you have an old tennis racket tucked in a closet somewhere, its strings frayed, its handle worn smooth from years of play? Maybe it reminds you of weekend matches at the park or gentle volleys with the kids in the driveway. It may no longer serve on the court, but in your garden it can take on a charming new role as a vertical planter full of color, texture, and memories. This clever project gives new life to an old sports item and adds a fun vintage twist to your garden walls or fence panels, all with minimal effort and no need for heavy tools. To begin, dust off your old racket and gently remove the strings. Most come out with a little tug, or you can snip them carefully with scissors. What remains is a sturdy oval frame, perfect for holding a garden surprise. Next, cut a piece of chicken wire mesh or even an old screen to fit the back of the racket. You'll want it slightly larger than the frame so it can curve gently like a shallow basket. Use wire cutters or strong scissors and wear gloves to protect your hands. Attach the mesh to the back using zip ties, garden wire, or a strong glue like E6000 tower. If you're using wire, thread it through the racket's holes or wrap it snugly around the frame. This mesh will become the base of your mini vertical garden, ready to hold lightweight planters, moss pouches, or air plants. For air plants or succulents, you can gently tuck them into small cocoa fiber pockets or wrap their roots in moss. For something more traditional, attach mini terracotta pots with wire loops or glue-on brackets. Herbs, pansies, or trailing ivy all do well in shallow containers and bring instant greenery to the frame. Want to add even more flair? Paint the racket's frame in a color that sings. Maybe a sage green to blend with the garden, or a cheerful sunflower yellow for contrast. You can even stencil on vines floral patterns or your initials. Once everything is in place, mount your vertical planter on a wall fence, or even lean it against a trellis near your patio. It's lightweight and compact, making it ideal for small space gardeners or those who prefer working at shoulder height without bending or straining. And each time you pass it, it's more than just a pop of color, it's a glimpse of joy. A little bit of past play turned into present beauty. This project reminds us that not everything old needs to be tossed. With a shift in perspective, a tennis racket becomes a trellis, a spoon becomes a label, a colander becomes a home for flowers. And maybe that's a reminder for us too. We don't outlive our usefulness. We change, we adapt. And sometimes we bloom in places we never expected. So go ahead, bring that racket out of retirement. Let it play again this time in the garden. And let your creativity serve up something beautiful. Every gardener deserves a place to pause to set down a warm mug, a well-loved trowel, or a freshly picked bloom. And sometimes, what we need most is a quiet little corner table, something sturdy, handmade, and full of character. This next project brings that vision to life using something wonderfully simple, a plain plastic bucket and a bit of cement. To begin, find a clean, heavy-duty plastic bucket. A 5-gallon size works beautifully, but even a smaller paint bucket will do. The goal is to create a stable base that can withstand wind, rain, and time. If your bucket has scuffs or remnants of old paint, don't worry, it's about to become something far more elegant. Next, mix up a batch of concrete or cement following the package instructions carefully. You won't need any special equipment, just a stir stick and a steady hand. Once it's ready, pour the cement into your bucket slowly and evenly. Fill it nearly to the top, but leave just a bit of space for decoration if you like. Now comes the creative touch. While the cement is still wet, press in mosaic tiles, pebbles, bits of sea glass, broken china, or even smooth river rocks. You can arrange them in a pattern, a sunburst, a spiral, a flower, or simply scatter them like treasures found in the soil. Let this top surface be your signature. Allow the cement to cure completely. This may take 24 to 48 hours depending on the weather. Once set, flip the bucket upside down and gently tap to release the mold. What you'll have is a beautifully weighted, weather-resistant column strong enough to support a tabletop and charming enough to stand alone. Now, to complete your garden table, you'll need a top. There are many options: a round wooden disc from a craft store, a vintage tray from a thrift shop, or even a salvaged piece of glass. If it's wood, give it a coat of outdoor paint or sealant to help it last through the seasons. Secure the top with strong adhesive or outdoor safe screws depending on your materials. Place your new table beside a favorite chair under a shady tree or next to a raised garden bed. It's perfect for holding a vase of flowers, a pair of gloves, a book waiting to be read. And every time you use it, you'll feel that quiet sense of satisfaction. I made this. This project requires no bending, no digging, and no fancy tools. Just patience, purpose, and a gentle vision for beauty in the everyday. But maybe what makes it most special is this. It began with something overlooked. A plain plastic bucket destined for the recycling bin. Some leftover cement. A few broken bits of tile. Nothing new, nothing bought. And yet together they became a place of rest. A table that doesn't just hold things, it holds stories. Of your hands at work. Of your eye for transformation. Of a garden that isn't just grown. It's built slowly, lovingly, one small creation at a time. So the next time you need a little surface to place your tea or rest your elbow, don't look to the store. Look to what's already around you and see what beauty your own hands can shape. There's something poetic about a shadow. The way it flickers on a wall shifts with the wind, stretches gently across your garden path as the sun moves through the day. This next project captures that quiet poetry and turns it into garden art using something you likely have already: a folding clothes drying rack and a bit of imagination. It's called a shadow silhouette frame, and it brings a touch of storybook wonder to any outdoor space, especially as dusk falls and the garden begins to glow. To begin, dust off your old clothes rack. The folding kind with metal or wooden bars works best. Even if it's a little crooked or worn, it still has a purpose to become the framework for your very own gallery of shadows. Now gather some lightweight materials to create your silhouettes. Black foam board is ideal because it holds its shape and is easy to cut. But sturdy cardboard or thin weather-safe plastic also works well. Sketch or trace out shapes that spark joy. Butterflies, birds, rabbits, a little fox, maybe even a fairy or two. If you're not confident in your drawing, don't worry. You can print out templates from the computer, place them on top, and trace around them. Cut out your shapes using scissors or a craft knife. Go slowly. There's no rush. Each shape should feel playful and just a little whimsical, like something that might move when you're not looking. Once your silhouettes are ready, attach them to the clothes rack using zip ties, garden wire, or even hot glue if you're placing it in a protected area. Space them out across the rack's bars, leaving room for the light to move between them. Now comes the magic. Set the rack in a part of your garden that gets dappled sunlight during the day, or catches the glow of string lights or a nearby lantern in the evening. As the light moves, the cutout shapes will cast long, lovely shadows on the grass fence or nearby plants, a living art piece that shifts with every breeze. And if you want to take it a step further, you can even paint the rack a soft pastel or earthy tone, or add gentle twinkle lights woven between the bars for nighttime charm. This project doesn't require bending, kneeling, or lifting just a chair to sit in a pair of scissors and a creative spirit. But its impact is quietly breathtaking, because it transforms forgotten items, a laundry rack scrap materials, into something elegant and poetic. It turns your garden into a moving storybook full of light, shadow, and imagination. And isn't that the gift of gardening? Not just to grow plants, but to grow presence, to turn the ordinary into the extraordinary, to create a space where wonder lingers in the flutter of a paper bird, the outline of a bunny hopping across your wall, the way your garden seems to whisper as the sun sets. So next time the light hits just right and you see those soft silhouettes dancing in your garden, smile. You made that beauty with nothing more than your hands, your vision, and a drying rack that had one more chapter to write. When you think of guests in your garden, you might picture birds, butterflies, maybe even the neighbor's curious cat. But what about the tiniest visitors, the quiet little workers who keep your garden blooming, solitary bees, ladybugs, lacewings, the ones who ask for nothing but a safe place to rest and help your flowers thrive in return? Building a small insect hotel is a beautiful way to invite them in. And the best part, you don't need to buy a thing. This project is made entirely from scraps you may already have around, bits of bamboo twigs, pine cones bark, and an old wooden crate or box that's been waiting for purpose. Start by choosing your structure. An old wooden drawer, a broken birdhouse frame, a deep wooden picture frame, or even a sturdy cardboard box coated with waterproof paint can serve as the base. You'll want something about the size of a shoebox, or slightly larger with a solid back and sides. Now gather your fillers. Bamboo is perfect. Cut it into pieces about 4 to 6 inches long. The hollow centers are ideal nesting spots for solitary bees. Pine cones offer cozy crevices for ladybugs. Rolled up bits of corrugated cardboard mimic tree bark for lacewings. Dry grass bark, chips, even bundled sticks, all of it becomes shelter. Pack the materials tightly into your frame, creating small rooms or sections using dividers made from scrap wood, cardboard, or more bamboo. The tighter the fit, the more secure the habitat. Each texture attracts a different type of insect, creating a tiny, natural apartment building of sorts. If you'd like, paint the outer edges of the box in soft, welcoming colors, sky blue, pale yellow, or garden green. Not too bold, just enough to signal that this is a place of care and intention. When your hotel is full and secure, mount it on a fence post, wall, or tree trunk at about eye level. Choose a spot that gets some morning sun but is sheltered from strong rain. Avoid placing it too close to busy human paths. Your tiny guests prefer a bit of peace and quiet. And then, wait. Over time, you'll begin to notice movement, bees nesting, ladybugs crawling in and out, a quiet buzz of life that tells you your garden is thriving from the inside out. This project may not sparkle like a wind spinner or bloom like a flower bed, but it holds a different kind of beauty, one rooted in balance and care, in the understanding that gardens are shared spaces. By giving space to insects, you're giving back to the very soil that feeds your plants. You're honoring the ecosystem, and you're reminding yourself that even the smallest act, stacking sticks, tying twine, placing pine cones with care, can have a profound impact. And isn't that what we learn in the garden every day? That healing beauty and connection starts small, often unnoticed, but always vital. So welcome the bugs, build them a home, and know that in doing so, you've added one more layer of life to your green sanctuary. Sometimes all a garden needs is a bit of shimmer, a moment where the sunlight catches something just right and turns it into a quiet celebration. And if you've ever held an old CD to the light and watched it reflect in dancing rainbows, then you already know where this idea begins. This project transforms old CDs and broken tiles into a radiant mosaic sun, a piece of glowing garden art that reminds us even the pieces we thought were useless still know how to shine. Start with your base. A circular wooden board works wonderfully, maybe an old tabletop, a lazy Susan, or even a sturdy piece of scrap plywood cut into a sun shape. You can also use a square or hexagonal base if that's what you have on hand. The beauty of a mosaic is that it adapts to whatever you give it. Begin by breaking up old ceramic tiles. Wrap them in a towel and gently tap with a hammer. The fragments don't need to be perfect. The irregular shapes are part of the charm. Choose warm, sun-inspired tones, golds, oranges, whites, soft terracottas. Then take your old CDs and cut them into shards using sharp scissors. The curved, shiny pieces will catch the light like sunbeams. Lay out your design first. Start with a circle of tile pieces in the center to represent the sun's heart. From there, let the CD shards radiate outward like glowing rays. Mix in more tile or mirror pieces as you go, adjusting until the pattern feels right. Once you're happy with the arrangement, start gluing. Use a strong outdoor adhesive to secure each piece to the board. Work slowly, pressing each piece into place like a puzzle, leaving small gaps between the tiles for grout. When the glue is dry, spread outdoor tile grout across the surface using a sponge or old credit card. Fill the spaces, then wipe away the excess gently. This process can feel messy, but trust it, soon the sun will emerge brighter than ever. Let everything cure fully. Then give it a light coat of weatherproof sealant to protect it from rain and fading. Now you have a mosaic sun that's ready to shine in your garden. Mount it on a fence, hang it on a shed, or even lay it flat as a decorative stepping stone. Wherever it goes, it will shimmer with every ray of light, quietly turning your outdoor space into a place of reflection and joy. And maybe more than anything, this mosaic reminds us of something important. That the broken pieces of life, the chipped dishes, the scratched CDs, the faded wood can still come together to create something beautiful. Something strong, something whole. We don't have to hide the cracks or the history. We can use them. We can let them shine. So gather your fragments. Trust your hands, and let your garden glow with a sun that you built not from perfection, but from possibility. Some of the most useful things in life are also the simplest. A seat to rest on, a spot to tuck away gloves and seed packets, something light enough to carry, sturdy enough to support, and charming enough to bring a smile. That's what this final idea offers: a sweet little garden stool made from an ordinary plastic bucket, painted, padded, and given new life with your own hands. Start by choosing a clean, sturdy plastic bucket. The kind used for bulk flower paint or even laundry detergent works perfectly. Just make sure it has a well-fitting lid and a handle you can still trust. Give the outside a good wash and then let your creativity loose. Pick a garden-friendly color: sage green, sunshine, yellow, robin's egg blue, or even soft lavender. Use outdoor spray paint or brush on acrylics, applying a couple of coats for full coverage. You can even stencil on some leaves, vines, or daisies if you'd like to add a personal flourish. Once dry, it's time to make the cushion. Take a round piece of foam. You can cut one from a seat pad, or use foam from a craft store, and match it to the size of your lid. Then wrap it in waterproof fabric, oilcloth, outdoor canvas, or even a thrifted raincoat will work. Pull the fabric tight and secure it underneath with a staple gun, strong tape, or waterproof glue. Press the cushion firmly onto the lid and let it set. Now when you pop the lid onto the bucket, you've got a comfortable seat ready to go. But that's not all. Lift the lid and you'll find storage inside. Fill it with twine seed packets, garden gloves, plant tags, a spray bottle, or even a snack and a book. Everything you need for an afternoon in the yard, neatly tucked away under your perch. Because the bucket has a handle, it's easy to carry from one flower bed to the next. A gentle companion that travels with you as you work, pause, admire, and dream. And the beauty of this project is that it doesn't ask much. No heavy lifting, no power tools, no special skills. Just your care, your color, your sense of purpose. In a world that often pushes us to rush, this little stool offers something different. A place to sit, to breathe, to feel the soil under your feet and the sky overhead. And perhaps more quietly, it reminds us of something deeper. That usefulness isn't about being expensive or brand new. It's about presence, reliability, a willingness to show up over and over and hold space for what matters. Just like this bucket, just like you. So take a seat, rest your hands, and know that with every gentle project you complete, your garden becomes more than just a collection of plants. It becomes a reflection of your heart, thoughtful, creative, and beautifully alive. And there you have it, Dear friend, 25 beautiful ways to turn everyday junk into something truly magical for your garden. Who would have thought that an old colander could become a bird bath? Or that soda cans, bricks, and teacups could find a second life nestled among your roses and marigolds? But maybe that's the quiet truth we gardeners already know, that beauty isn't always in what's new. Sometimes it's in what's been used, love-chipped, and tucked away, waiting for another chance to shine. These projects weren't about perfection or money or fancy supplies. They were about what you already have, what your hands can still create, what your heart wants to express. And whether your garden is big or small, full of blooms, or just beginning each time you plant something, paint something, or place a spoon in the soil with a hand-lettered name, you're not just decorating, you're storytelling. You're remembering the past while growing something for the future. You're taking care not just of plants, but of yourself, your space, your joy. So, which idea brought you the biggest smile today? Was it the CD wind spinner catching light in the breeze? Or the fairy stage tucked beneath a bush, waiting for a child's imagination to find it? I'd love to know. Leave a comment below and share which creation you're excited to try in your own garden. And if today's visit brought you a bit of peace or inspiration, I'd be honored if you'd subscribe and join this growing community of kind-hearted garden souls. At Golden Life, we believe it's never too late to grow something beautiful, not just in your soil, but in your spirit. So until next time, keep imagining, keep creating, and above all, keep growing. Happy gardening, dear friend.